Welcome to episode 38 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. If you are in the junk removal space, demolition, deconstruction, people got something, you get rid of it, you've come to the right place. We're all about growing, scaling, building your business so that you can live the life that you want in the future. I'm Andy Weins, joining you from the great state of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, to be specific, along with my partner in crime from Big D itself, Dallas-Fort Worth, coming in at 235 pounds, standing 6'1", Casey Bubba Lawrence. How the hell are you today?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Andy?
No complaints. I stayed up late. No complaints. I watched the future of the Packers come on board. Jordan Love throwing touchdown strikes, looking great. And you know what? Here's the problem. We show up. We almost beat the Bills and the Eagles in prime time, and we shit the bet against the Lions and the Giants. Right? That's the problem. That's the Packers season this year.
I think that's NFL all over, man. Like, who would have thought the NFC East is the strongest division in the NFL?
Right. And the 5-6 Tampa Bay Bucks are the best in the South. When they had Jameis Wilson, who was potential, the second coming down there in New Orleans. I got nothing to say good about the Falcons. And the Panthers, Baker Mayfield was supposed to do stuff. Obviously, he didn't. And Tom Brady, apparently, less the divorce. I mean, he was doing great until he decided to stay married. Once he got divorced, he's been doing great. Anyways, enough football talk. We got a guest today, Casey. What's this all about?
So, we actually have a great guest. His name's Zack, and Zack's here to try to change our mind on the whole franchising model. Now, as people know, if you listen to this show, you'll understand real quick, Andy and I are not a big fan of the franchise in the junk removal space. So today, I think Zack's going to let us know a little bit about why he thinks we're wrong, but at the same time, we're going to make sure he understands every single part of the way that he's in fact wrong. So, Zack, thanks for coming on, and welcome to the show.
I'm just going to back it up for a hot second. First of all, you're right. Episode 1, and the reason why behind this podcast is because Casey and I were both part of a franchise. We saw the woos and we saw people lose their asses because of it, and we're very much anti-franchise in this space, right? We are all about empowerment of the individual owner-operator. So I'm going to say that, right? Casey's right there. Here's the other thing. There's a lot of noise in the world, right? Social media and big media that will only bring on people that agree with their side of the argument, right? You came out, you shot an email with 2 points. You're like, let me tell you these 2 points. I didn't even fucking read them, right? Because we'll dish that out here on the podcast. And the point is, at the end of this conversation, if you have convinced me, well, then maybe I franchise my business, right? I have a very nice, successful junk roll business, and that's interesting. So I'll be more welcoming than Casey, because this is all about growth and understanding, and also giving our listeners an opportunity to hear both sides of the conversation, because they might feel more comfortable going with the franchise model. Afterwards, we'll strongly advise against certain franchises out there based on known facts. So let's talk about it. Zack. Where are you from? What are you doing? How long have you been in the junk roll game? And then I'll sit back, drink coffee while Casey fucking grills you.
Yeah, I hope you bring it hard, Casey. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I've loved listening to your podcast. I've only been in the junk business almost 3 years now. I was active duty up until about 3 years ago. I'm an Army engineer guy.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, my God. Don't thank him for his service. Welcome home, brother. Welcome home.
You guys have almost convinced me to not franchise. But,
well, this is going to be a short podcast.
Yeah, right. But I'm going to stand my ground. I think, we have certain things that, we're doing that I think provide a lot of value. And also, as long as I'm at the reins, I think that, we're going to, as much as we can, constantly provide value to our franchisees. In my mind, it's not a numbers game. We're not trying to get a million franchisees. We're trying to get very successful ones in certain places, So I'm in Charlotte.
So real quick.
So go ahead.
Real quick, what exactly? So you just said North Carolina. Okay, cool. We'll get back into that. What exactly is your business? Is it a junk removal company that you're franchising out?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, so I started. I don't know if you guys want me to go into the origin.
Please.
Of my company.
Yeah. High level overview. How'd you get here today? Yeah.
Sure.
And also, I'd like to see where you're at today.
I got off active duty, and I went into corporate America. So I was working at a big place here in Charlotte, making good money. And actually, when COVID hit, right after I moved, I had a bunch of trash. I needed to go to the landfill, like bulk trash. And the one thing I think in the world that you don't interact with human beings is picking up someone's bulk trash. But the city said, "Oh, we're not picking up people's trash because of COVID." So I did it myself, and it was really fun. The landfill was gorgeous. I got a great workout in, right? Like I'm not doing PT anymore, so I have like an e-commerce company too. So I'm kind of business minded. And I came home and I told my wife, I'm going to start picking up people's junk in the morning as a side hustle. Like, get a workout in and do it. I know how to build websites, so I threw a website together. I got my first customer the first week, and I didn't know what to do, so I rented a U-Haul, picked up their stuff. And then it just went from there. I was getting like one customer a week. Then I was getting 2 or 3 a week. Then I needed to hire someone to help me. And then I actually worked my corporate job for 1.5 years while building this company, which was pretty stressful. I hot spotted and I just worked on my computer. We show up at jobs. I'd walk away, do the job, come back. My boss will have messaged me like 3-4 times. And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I was in the bathroom,"
Taking a lot of shits.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that for 1.5 years. And then about 7 months ago, I was able to quit and do this full time. So, but yes, we do junk removal. Yep. We also do dumpster rentals, which I know you guys, I listened to one of your podcasts recently. You can't be both, but I think we found kind of a good middle ground. Like junk removal takes priority, but we do rent out dumpsters. And it's good additional revenue. Kind of like a lot of things you do on the back end, like, it makes us maybe 6 figures a year.
I don't think you can't do both. I think we just wanted to specify that it's 2 different businesses. It's 2 separate businesses. You can do both. It's just when you're in one and you're trying to start the other, you're going to obviously take time away from one. So, right. But yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, but I'll advise don't do both at first. Get one figured out before you do the next. Don't be okay at 2 things, right? Get one thing mastered and then figure it out. Because I've seen companies that do both, but they have a hierarchy and a structure where it doesn't get muddy. When guys day one are like, "I'm going to get 10, 12 cans," it's like, okay, well, one of the things I like what you said there, Jack, is like, hey, junk removal takes priority. Okay, as long as that's understood at every level, okay. All right, and I also see guys that are like, "Oh, I rent out my trailer." I'm like, well, then what happens when you need it? Oh, well, then I can't do a junk removal job. It's like, okay, so you'll pass up $1,000 to make 100, right? Like for me, I have 4 or 5 trailers that sit in my yard every day. I could get in the trailer renting business right now that would not impact my business, right? My operations. I just don't want to get into it, right? Could I make $100 a day renting trailers? Probably. It's just not interesting. So anyway, so Prophet said, so right now today, we're going in December of 2022. What is where are you at scale wise? Employees, trucks, revenue, if you're willing to share, because I want to see what scope and scale you're at after 3 years. And also, okay, you're here, so what? And then we'll get into the franchise argument part.
Yeah, for sure. So as of today, I have 9 employees. Well, if you count my office manager, I got 9 employees in Charlotte. I got 3 down in Orlando, and then we have our first franchise down in Savannah. So that right now it's just one guy, and he is a part-time guy. So really under my umbrella, I got 12 employees. We do, I'd say, around 20 jobs a day, which some of them are small, and then some of them are kind of bigger junk ones. We have a lot of contracts where, I just send 2 guys. They don't even have a truck and trailer. It's just like cleaning up trash or like swapping dumpsters out and stuff.
Porter service, porter services,
like small dumpster porter service, or like just cleaning up around dumpsters.
So you guys, you're running what, 4 trucks a day? Then you're running.
I run 3 trucks. 2. I have like 2 just full-time teams where like they got jobs every day lined up, and then my third team is like a flex team, and they're full-time too, but I kind of shift them around a lot, right? They usually work with I got to kind of split a commercial team who they do all our contracts like full-time. So like, we got our weekly, bi-weekly recurring pickups. They go hit all those. It's very simple, routine, very little human interaction. Then I got I call them residential team, but they're the more dynamic, like people persons, like go-getters. And my flex team usually helps them the most, but every now and then they got to go help commercial, So that's the setup I have here in Charlotte right now. I'm not sold on it's the best way, but it's working pretty good.
Where in Charlotte are you?
So I live down in Waxhaw, but our warehouse is in Matthews. It's like on the south side of Charlotte.
I accidentally went to Matthews. There's a restaurant, there's a bar restaurant, Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
Is that
I think it just
okay?
opened recently.
Well, here's what's fucked up. Apparently, there's two of them because I was supposed to go to the one in Belmont, and I ended up in the one in Matthews. Nice little quaint southern town, but 35 minutes to Belmont. I ended up then going to Belmont. So I was in Charlotte. Never been to Charlotte. The other thing about Charlotte, what's interesting is not a lot of
Their
pride in
barbecue
that city.
sucks.
Well, no, that was Raleigh. Raleigh had the shitty barbecue. Charlotte,
okay, good.
everywhere I went, I'm like, hey, what are you guys known for? They're like, not much. They're like, yeah, we're like there was no, like they have a mint there, and everyone else we have a mint, we have the NASCAR museum, and we have a shitty football team. I'm like, okay, like that's, and I'm not mad at you, but like now to Casey's point, when we went to Raleigh, we're like, hey, what are you guys known for? We're like, oh yeah, fried chicken, biscuits, and barbecue. And Casey was disappointed. We have a whole episode dedicated to Casey's disappointment in the finer fare offered there in Raleigh, North Carolina. So
They
anyhow,
got two of those. They got two of those right. Let's just put it that way. And it wasn't barbecue.
It wasn't barbecue.
Charlotte's known for banking. It's like it's a banker's town. Everybody works at a bank. So you got Bank of America headquarters here.
Yeah,
like Truist is a big building. It's pretty
that's not
boring.
fun. Yeah, that's not, exactly. That's not interesting. I did go up to the Whitewater Rapids Park
Whitewater Center?
hiking. Yeah, there it is. Oh, that was nice. I enjoyed my time in Charlotte. There's also really nice. Give a shout out to like the 7 people in Charlotte that are listening. Shout out! There's a new pizza place in Belmont. Couldn't tell you the name of it, but it was fucking delicious. They were open like 3 weeks as of early November. Anyways, good pizza place. So I know I'm not Dave Portnoy. I have no official business rating pizza joints, but it was a good pizza joint. All right. Okay, so you got an operation, you got one franchisee. Let's talk about this. Why or how did that happen? Where all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm smart enough to have someone pay me to do stuff because I think I know shit. How did that conversation go?
Yeah, so I will tie back to the revenue piece real quick. So we're year 3 will be complete like May timeframe. I didn't LLC till August 2020. Because before I was just side hustling, like doing my, whatever. But so I think we'll finish up this year. We're on path to finish up this, 2022 at 800,000.
Okay.
We're hitting 6 figures a month now. So
awesome.
I listened to you guys' podcast with Lee the other day, and like, the glide path of kind of a growing, scaling junk removal business, we're pretty well ahead of that power curve, and that's mostly because of our commercial side of the business. So
what percentage of your business is commercial?
About 70%.
Okay. I like that. That's just, that is not typical to do.
Right. It's not
to have $500,000 plus commercial side of your business year 3.
I want to come back to that here in just a second. Okay. So I'm getting itchy over here, but I'll let you finish up what you were saying.
Sounds good.
I mean, I got lunch. I'll eat lunch while you ask questions, Casey. Nothing's stopping you. Jeez.
Yeah. So the reason here, I have some partners who also have a trash company. They do valet trash, Casey, which I know, or porter trash. So that's all they do.
Yeah.
They've been around a while, and that's almost strictly multifamily, like apartment management groups and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
genius.
They're deep in that world, have very deep connections. They know everybody, and that's why we have so much commercials, because it's a very social relationship like community. And they have these relationships, and like, hey, we also have a junk company. We can help you with your. They got asked all the time to pick up people's bulk trash, but they couldn't. And then I told them I can do it for you, and they're like, well, let's partner up, and we'll give you all this business. So that's kind of how it started, right? So, in the course of growing, me and my partners discussed, do we want to do this all in house? All these cities, and be in charge of managing and like blah blah blah. And we can get in this if you want, but I have some personal, career goals, more like humanitarian that I want to do. So like, I don't want to be running 100 different markets in 100 different cities and be the manager and like dealing with the hiring and stuff, right? So now I proposed maybe we franchise. They thought it was a good idea, and that's kind of where it went. And then, so I guess I'll just jump into what I think our value propositions are, and then you guys can start shooting holes in me.
Well, that's not the goal. Is not to shoot holes.
But
The goal is it's just learning.
I'm joking, but I do want you guys to challenge my concept because we all make it up as we go, right? So,
go ahead.
Yep. So I'd say our number one value proposition is that we have access to difficult market, the commercial side. So we're partners with 16 major management companies and a lot of other smaller ones, and they manage over 1 million units across America, right? So that doesn't mean we're guaranteed to get access to them, right? But like we have the relationships, we potentially have access to over 1 million apartment units, right?
Yeah.
And we're also in the works. I don't know if I can name names, but 2 large brokers, I guess you could say, that also are in the commercial space that we've done work for before, and we're in the process of getting like fully onboarded with them. So basically, number one value proposition, we have access to a difficult market to get into that provides a lot of revenue with no marketing. Second value proposition, I guess I was kind of saying this, but we can basically give a new franchise, like our Savannah guys, right? We can give them day one revenue and jobs. So they did $13,000 their first month. The only cost on them, they went and bought a $3,100 like wire mesh trailer, a 6x12, right? Because I told them starting off, don't dump a lot into this until you're sure you want to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of handling our franchise fees and royalties a little bit different too. We're kind of scaling them in. Like basically the money we're like, I don't know if we're going to keep doing this, right? But they didn't pay us a lump sum up front. We're just taking an extra royalty out of them until they cover the franchise fee originally. So it's business.
How old are they?
Begin with. What's that?
How old is your franchise, the Savannah one?
Oh, they're like 3 months old. We like just started them.
Okay. And is Orlando a franchise also?
No, that's a corporate location.
Orlando, we're doing in-house still.
Okay.
We're going to. That's just a big market for my sister company, and it was kind of, they were already doing some of it in-house, and then so basically I stood up a team. I moved one of my guys from Charlotte down there because he wanted to, and I offered him a lot more pay. So we're running that in-house, but it's strictly commercial right now. It's like pretty easy commercial pickups and stuff, but we are, we're looking for someone that wants to take over that market as a franchisee and then start growing the residential and my guy is great down there, but he's not like a go-getter. He's not out like
he's a doer.
Yeah,
he's a doer. He's a great doer.
He's
an
integrator, not a leader. Okay.
And the market's growing organically well, but it's not. It's not
my first question is, and this is kind of honestly where Andy and I found ourselves. We found out really quick, not just certain issues with the franchise model, but we found out why. And it was because at the time, our franchise, the founder, had never got past a certain point.
We never got past one truck.
Yeah, he never scaled, he never grew, he never dealt with issues that his franchises were starting to deal with. And that then faced a bunch of other issues because like, well, shit, there's no guidance from here. Now, the other thing is you speak of commercial business, and it's insane. I mean, hats off to you because I love commercial contracts. Love them.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a problem I see. It is very hard to reciprocate the operations on the commercial side from not just 2 different coasts, but 2 different states, 3, 4, 7, 8. Next you know it, when your franchise starts growing. I think whenever you want to get into a franchise, whenever you look at the franchise, you have to say, hey, what does it look like if I'm in 10 different franchises? No, it has to look like, well, what about 20? What about 50? Because franchises, unfortunately today, everything is a franchise. It's insane. But the problem is about year 3, you start seeing them drop. Franchises are dropping out. They can't afford to keep going. They can't pay their bills.
Franchisees, yep.
Because the concept that they proved the first and second year, the issue is they didn't know how to grow and do it successfully, because if you do it successfully, it costs money. And it's not just, oh yeah, we're going to have all this business for sure, and we're also going to grow. Look at 2020. It actually got you into business, but look at all the businesses that got out because of something out of their control that they weren't prepared for. Now, obviously, I'm not saying you got to prepare for another 2020. No. But what I'm saying is markets are going to do this. At the same time, your first and second year, it's hard to count that in any kind of model because you're learning a lot. even if you're a franchise owner, you're still learning your own business and your own business mentality. It's that third and fourth year. Can you sustain? Because Andy and I talked about this also. Andy, what was the ratio of small businesses past 5 years and then 10, and like it just does this? And that's any small business.
Yeah, no, it nosedives beyond 2 year, 3 year, yeah.
Yeah, so the question isn't should you franchise? The question is why should I pay you for your franchise? Because if I come in here, right? If I come in here, I'm hey Zach, you got a great business. This is badass. I want to be a part of it. Why wouldn't I be in some sort of licensing deal where I still get all the same benefits that you're offering? But why would I want to say, hey, I'm going to pay you monthly and upfront? At the same time, I'm going to hope that you have all the answers for me, because now I'm going into this turnkey business that's marketed that way. And I'm in New Mexico where the population is very slim, or maybe I'm in a very residential heavy area, not commercial heavy area, right? Because look at the metroplex I'm in. I'm in DFW. I live in Northlake. If you look at a map, right south of me is Alliance Corridor. They are warehouse heavy. You have their own airport. And then north, you have DFW surrounded by where, I mean, it's very good mix. But in between the two is just suburbia, right? So my business thrived on suburbia, on residential. Yeah, I had some commercials sprinkled in, but I also knew all my profit and my money was coming mainly from residential. So if I was like, hey, Zach, I live in this town outside the city. How can I be successful in what you do? Does it make sense for me to drive an hour to go fulfill a commercial contract? Does it make sense for me to, you know what I'm saying? I'm not, like I said, we're not trying to cut you down as much as we're trying to make sense of this.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I think our approach is that we're not like, I mean, this doesn't play a big role in it, but I'm a West Pointer, and so I come from a very good entrepreneur.
Oh, shit.
Like,
podcast's over.
Yeah, but let me knock my ring. I actually don't have it on right now. But the point I'm going to make is like, it's a good entrepreneur network. Everybody's like looking to get out of corporate America and do their own thing. But we're being kind of picky. Yeah. It's like, whenever I post, I'm like, hey, like right now, Atlanta and Orlando, like they're good to go. If anybody's in that area and like you're interested, just let me know. We'll help you explore it and see if you like it. But like, we're kind of, one of my partners moved out to Dallas, like they're growing their business out there. So like we're kind of looking at that. But like right now, the only kind of options on the table is Orlando, Raleigh, and Atlanta. We're kind of looking at Nashville, but
and those are based off of where you already have a hub of apartments you can serve. I mean, that's your proposition is pretty simple. Hey, join the team, and you got guaranteed commercial revenue day one. Mm-hmm. And then, is there some training involved? What else do you give them so that they can go out there and be combat effective?
Yep. What do you continue? So I think that's the big sale for us. Is like, hey, you join the team, we hand you the business that we've fostered, right? But then on top of it, and this is something your podcast made me think a lot. Is like, what value do I add beyond that? So, and I'm still trying to figure that out, honestly. But I mean,
I'll tell you what, guaranteed revenue is a hell of a start. Yeah. Right. I mean, sales solves most. Let's not.
What about when they renegotiate contracts? That's the other one, because usually it's like every 3 to 5 years is when they renegotiate contracts for vendors, especially in the multifamily. I did a bid on a 400 unit apartment complex I lived in at the time, and my company was doing the bulk haul away for it. The problem I ran into was I couldn't afford to compete with the company under me. I think it was Recycle Now was I don't know if you heard of them. They're pretty big. Yeah. They do a lot of valet trash, but they were at about $7 a door. And the lowest I think I could get to at the time was like 10.5, maybe 11. And, times 400 every month, that's a lot of money I was missing out on. But at the same time, I just couldn't afford it as a small business, right? Now, what happens when, hey, renegotiate contract time is up? In 3 months, it's going to be up for grabs. So how do you ensure that business keeps going, right? Well, who's going to bat for these franchisees for those contracts?
Right. But I guess the good thing for us is that, so my sister company, they're heavily into that 3 to 5 year like contract thing. They do have to renegotiate those. I'm not involved in that. What's nice about us is we kind of get the breadcrumbs off it. Like we do a lot of just like one-time bulk pickups or eviction trash outs. It's like we're not necessarily fighting for a contract. It's just they trust us through the other company. And then, a lot of them we've done, like Grace, I don't know if I can say this, but I'll just say Greystar is like the nation's biggest management company, right?
Yeah.
We do tons and tons of work for them, and we've earned trust. It's like we don't have to renegotiate contracts. They're like, hey, we need this done, and they know that vets will get it done right at a good price. We do have some contracts.
As a franchise investor, if I come in and I'm going to invest with you and get my own franchise, I need assurances, because I get what you're saying, because that Andy's business, my business, we all have that group of repeatable customers that no matter what, they're going to use us. Right. The problem is once you start reaching out and say, hey, join my team because I can guarantee A, B, and C and pay me money, what's going to happen is, or what I can see happening is they're going to be, okay, well, hey man, we just got a notice saying that we're no longer needed. Apparently this other company's doing it. And they said that we never were in any kind of contract, but now they are in a contract. So how do we, because I promise you one thing, property management teams change all the time. Yep. And the one thing I learned was I would not get a phone call. I wouldn't get an email. I would actually make a phone call, and about a month went by. Hey, it's been a while, just seeing how everything's going. Oh, who are you again? Oh, this is, Casey with so-and-so. Oh yeah, actually, we've actually changed management or whatever. And now you're having to resell for someone else the same property you've been, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And we've faced
so trust is great.
Yep.
But what assures me?
Our churn is small, but it usually comes from management teams or whole companies changing out,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a great answer for that other than just like continuously, checking with them and, building a relationship. But the one good thing about, the commercial piece is that there's a pretty big barrier to entry to getting in working with them, because you have the vendor setup process, especially for big ones, it's a pain in the butt, right? A lot of people don't make it through, but once you're in, like it opens the doors to all the other ones. So that helps.
Well, I can tell you this, with you, Zach, I'll tell you what I wanted from my franchisor. I wanted the contracts that were promised. I wanted the hookups, the connections that were promised. And what I mean by that is, look at what is directly related to your business. Disposal is a huge one, right? Like, you're going to throw shit away. You just know it. You also know, hey, you know what? There's Amazon warehouses everywhere. How do I get into Amazon warehouses? Why is this guy in Texas just cleaning house in Amazon, but no one else is? Oh, because he reached out to them. You see what I'm saying? Right. So as a, I'll give you a tip. If it seems like you have your mind made up anyways. So the only thing I could tell you is the more value you add to your franchise, the better it will be in the end. Because the one thing we were lacking was the value that was put down to us. There was never any. It was more just like, hey, if you fail, we're going to upsell your property after you leave. Yeah. So we're actually going to do better if you do worse. Yeah. And that's a terrible model, obviously.
It is. And I mean, that is foremost in my mind as I'm doing this, like all the things you said. And then I don't know if I told you, Andy, but I think I told you, Casey, I almost franchised with them too, by the way. But then when I went and I talked to a bunch of people, I was like, the value's not there, right? Like I can just go do this on my own.
Diligence.
I did. Yeah. I did a lot of due diligence. I called probably 40 different.
Casey and I didn't go to West Point. We went to basic training.
Ground Pound University, man.
Ground Pound U. I went to Iraq U, graduated in 2007. Circa class 5-6, I think, OIF. I was a fucking truck driver. 5 weeks and 4 days. That was my fucking AIT. So, you need me to fucking. Yeah, that's it. Still am.
So, great point, Casey. I'll throw in two other things I think that are valuable for us. So, one, like the revenue provided, like that's going to, like, I want us to be able to hand new markets immediately good revenue, right? Oh. That's the goal. But with that, our marketing costs are insanely low. So, I was, Lee, when you guys were talking to him the other day, he was like, oh, yeah, about 25% revenue is what you spend on marketing. Once you grow, maybe 10, 15%.
He's fucking insane.
Correct.
Spend less than $1,000 a month on marketing. Like,
well, you had a pretty good repeat business being commercial. So, okay, so let's flip the other side. All right. So I own a junk removal company right here in the Milwaukee area. I'm a veteran, right? I'm checking your boxes. What stops you from brokering the deal so that I can go serve our mutual customers and I don't join your franchise, right? This is a no shit real question. If you had units here in Milwaukee, I'll go bang them out, right? What's right? Is it more advantageous? And I'm saying this because this is the position of a lot of our listeners are in. I know we have listeners in Atlanta. We have listeners in Nashville. We have a lot of listeners down south, right? So right now, what would stop you from just saying, oh, hey, I have these relationships if you lean in on the trash broker side? Because right now, between you and me, Zach, you're like, hey, they got 500 apartments in Milwaukee area, right? And I know because I have a couple commercial clients that have between 300 to 700, one that's got like 550 units. I know how many I clean out a year because I've been doing it for a minute, right? What would just stop you from saying, hey, are you interested in this? What are your prices? And then they just go through you every time, right? And we have a no shit, not just a gentleman's agreement, but a no shit contract that, hey, I don't discuss price with them. They don't discuss price with you. I tell you, hey, my trailer's $749 for a full. And you say, okay, hey, I'm going to bill them $800 because I got to deal with it or whatever your markup is, right? That's about 15%. Why not do that?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Because that's more trash broker. You're the relationship, right? And you can speak the language, but now you're actually utilizing. You don't have to train
other companies that are already in.
Right, and now now the risk you take is that I shit the bed and I don't represent you well, right? But you take that risk with a franchisee, right? So it's mutual risk. Also, if you lose that contract, right? Poof, it goes away. New management, all the concerns Casey has. It's no harm, no foul, right? I'm just gonna go find the new Zach, right? Because that shit happens. And
you ever heard of Zeters?
Zeters.
Zeters are a property management company that they are subbed out by other property management companies. They mainly deal with maintenance. We had a lot of contract with Zeters. They were a third party, and they would call us. We would bill Zeters. Zeters would do their thing with the property management company, and it was that simple. And the cool thing was, Zeters didn't have to say, hey, Casey, I want you to stop doing what you're doing and join my team. It was like, hey, look, we have a problem. We need you to provide a solution. Charge me for it. Get it done. Let me know when it's done. And that was it.
Third-party trash. But third-party trash brokering is a real legit business.
Oh, it is. And we're not talking about small-scale like refrigerator.
No. You say, well, it could be just a refrigerator, or it could be a full fucking 3-bedroom apartment that's been hoarded in and squatted in and shit on and it's fucking $20,000 job, right? I mean, it's everything in between. But if you have a huge property management company and they're like, hey, we got 1 million units across the United States, I know that if I send an email to info at what's the name? Was it Vets All Junk? What is the name of your business?
Vets Easy Trash.
Vets Easy Trash, right? I know that it's going to get picked up within 48 hours by a certified, licensed fucking guy. Right, who's already in the space? Because I'll tell you, I'm. This isn't hypothetical or rhetorical or any of those bullshit types of questions. What would stop you and I from going into business together? You market my services. Let's say $749 full trailer. I said market up to $800. It's actually about 7%, 6% markup, right? But if you make $50 to send an email, or maybe you market at $850 because you're like, hey, I got to put a service charge on there, whatever, right? You make 10, 12, 15%. I'm fucking happy all day. Because I like banging commercial jobs. I like said right now there you have to carry the money, but you have a business that supports that, right? Because you got to pay me before you get paid, or you put everybody on net 30, and we all play the fuck games, and that's fine. I would do that in a fucking heartbeat here in Milwaukee to get because either that or
feeding him, and they're going to keep. And that's the other thing is, you keep feeding him, they're going to keep feeding you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Honestly, I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it because it's been just such a whirlwind for 2.5 years, 3 years. But
well, this is why we got to stop to think. We do a lot of thinking here. We do thinking here at the goddamn Trash Talk. You know what? Here's no. Here's where I'll make this argument. We don't do thinking, right? Actually, I'm writing a book called Words Fucking Matter. Shameless plug right here at the 35-minute mark. But I was right before this. I was writing a chapter with this fucking wicked smart guy, and we were talking about something. And one of the things I do is I talk to people all the time about how much I don't think. But what I do, in fact, do is make data-driven decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if the data says, hey, I can mark this up 15%, 12%, whatever the number is every time, right? And I got a veteran junk removal business in this area, that's reputable. And I mean, look at my goddamn, what am I at Google Rise? I think about 520 reviews with a perfect 5-star rating. And that's only 2.5 years. Only 2.5 years as our current brand, right? So it's like, well, this guy doesn't fucking suck, right? And I can make 12, 15%, 517 on my review counter, be over 520 by the time this episode comes out. That's the plan. Anyways, what stops you from just brokering it, right? Being a trash broker, you got the relationship, you got the hardest or the most difficult, the most complicated, we'll use that word. You have the most complicated part figured out, which is how do I get in front of these big fuck off property management companies with 10,000, 20,000.
And you also said you don't want to be stuck managing a junk removal company for the next 10, 15 years. What do you think a franchise is going to do? Because now you're going to have a marketing team. You're going to have developing operations. Right. You're going to be managing the franchise now. And I will say this, the coolest thing about it is you're already connected. Like you said, you have your friend or your buddy in Dallas now. Well, DFW is insane. You already know that. The cool thing is also, and this is what I like to look at, you pushed liability away from yourself. And for me, that's like my number one thing. I tell people all the time, like, if you could do it without holding any liability, you're already winning. Because now, let's say worst case scenario, you're good. You're not hurt. Whereas in a franchise, now you're going to get in a predicament where you're going to be babysitting. Because all it takes is, it takes one. And then the next thing happens and the next one happens. Now you got 5 people that are pissed off at you because you broke your promise. Maybe you didn't break your promise, but shit happens.
They just had a bad,
they're going to be turning to you.
They had a bad fucking month, right? And I tell you, when that check goes out every month, and they're like, man, why did I spend $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 for this guy who's just sitting behind a fucking desk all day, right? That's Casey and I were there. We right now, if the thought was, man, I can't wait to fucking pay this because, or hey, I got paid for my full trailer and he marked it up. I tell you what, when I send off invoices to third-party trash brokers and I get paid, I don't even think about what they marked it up. I don't care if they made $1 or $1,000. I got paid to do what I do. I didn't have to earn that one in the traditional sense where I had to convince the customer, I had to go find them and networking. No, I banged the job and I moved on.
Yep. And in our franchise, we had something called client services, commercial client services or something. What that was, they had some commercial clients, and if it was in our area, we would get a phone call. The biggest problem that we faced, they would talk us down on our pricing.
Correct, because they had to fit their model, and also they didn't know what a fucking full trailer was versus a half trailer. They were just fucking donkeys. We can sit here and bitch. I mean, you did your due diligence to figure out J-Dog was not the right fucking way to go.
Well,
right?
That's a common issue is you have to base your model on the market that you're in. And if it doesn't fit, then what does fit? Because this is blindly assuming this, but Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina are probably a little similar, right? But when you get into Utah, Nevada, Oregon, Washington State, things are going to start getting a little different. Right. I just found out, last week that New Jersey requires a fucking license that takes 2 years to get just to haul junk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
2 years. Wow. Yeah, no, and I knew that. I knew that from the guys that had bought a bunch of J-Dog franchises. J-Dog sold them a bunch of franchises for New Jersey. Come to find out, they weren't even able to operate for 12 to 18 months.
And it's a stiff penalty.
You don't want to. It's a stiff penalty, and it's run by the mob and yada, yada. Actually, the other guy that reached out to us, I had a great conversation with him. We got to get him on the podcast. He does run in New Jersey. He's been doing it for about 10 years. And he's like, yeah, it's a mother. Right? It's because the mob runs the. No, we talked to him on the phone.
I thought we met with him at JunkCon.
Did we? Maybe. I don't recall. Maybe we met a couple people at JunkCon that were East Coasters, whatever.
Yeah.
The point is, these are all the bullshit things you take on as a franchisee.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I get what you're doing. You got the corporate location. I do that. I got 2 guys satellite 3 hours from me because I got a big project for my number one customer. And my question is, do I just bang the jobs and unmarked trucks? I mean, I have marked trucks, but then we get phone calls, do other shit. So you're like, all right, I got this commercial thing. Do I want to do this? Right. I get the idea that you sold guaranteed work to the guy in Savannah, but right now you can just be like, hey guy, I tell you what, you work for me when you work jobs. I don't give a fuck what you do otherwise. Have whatever name you have. Because here's the problem. What happens if he goes to Savannah and he shits the bed and ruins your fucking name? Right. That's the other risk you run with the franchise model. Right? We had that issue too. I had a huge issue here in Milwaukee. The other franchisee that I had here in the Milwaukee area, he was a nice enough guy, Marine vet, firefighter, but he didn't understand entrepreneurship. He had some other things he was going on in his life, but the franchise wasn't his priority. I would get phone calls from his customers bitching at me, right? Or I'd have realtors. They don't know where the fucking line is, right? Realtors bitching at me because he did a piss poor job. And then even got to a point where the corporate office was calling me, telling me that I had to go babysit him and go do jobs for him, which was complete violation of the franchise agreement, right? Because he wasn't picking up his phone. And he wasn't picking up his phone because he was checked out. And right. And again, I'm not here to fucking judge, but now he's ruining the name locally because we had the common name. And I can tell you, as someone that had a franchise next to him, it didn't do me any fucking good for name power. Right now that I've been independent here, I've only been independent here 7 months, 6-7 months under this new name. It's like at the end of the day, only people give a shit about what I'm doing. Casey just broke his fucking chair. Jesus, for most of our listenership or viewership is listeners only. Let me tell you, I'll just set the stage here. Casey's in his new office. There's like nothing but a fucking dresser he probably pulled out of his house, and he just leaned back and broke his fucking chair.
That's all good.
Zach is looking like he's in his operations office with a fire extinguisher in the back in case things get heated. And I'm sitting in my regular ass office with fucking surrounded by greatness.
Well, hey, real quick, how many
well,
junk removal companies surround your commercial contracts versus people that will buy into your franchise in that same area?
Yeah. Why collaborate? Don't compete. I'm all about that.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I mean, you guys got me thinking for sure. Yeah.
Well, and here's the coolest part. If I let's say I'm dead set on a franchise. Hey, I have all this money and I want to throw it at a franchise. I'm not going to pick junk removal. You know, I'm going to pick something that is proven around the world.
Chick-fil-A. Everyone loves chicken. Closed on Sundays.
It's because they can control their operation. Hey, this is the way to success. You don't deviate. Yep. This is how you do it, no matter what. What if it rains? Well, this is the way you do it, even in the rain. Right. And that's the thing is with junk removal, there's too many variables because all it takes is for someone to get a creative mind. No offense to them, but once they start deviating from your model, they're going to be like, why am I paying this guy when I'm doing my own thing? And yeah, you just proved it too.
You already proved it by not joining a franchise.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, there's nothing fancy about fucking Vet's Easy Junk Removal or Vet's Easy Trash. There's nothing fucking classy there. Right? When you have proprietary.
The eagle's pretty extra fancy right there.
Oh, I got a fucking eagle. I'll show you a goddamn eagle. Where's my fucking eagle? I'm not even wearing a camel crew shirt. Oh, fuck. Now I'm going to get out of my chair. Right? For those of you listening at home, I'm getting out of my chair to go find a fucking
camel crew hat so you can see his stupid bald eagle.
No, I'm actually here. I got Taylor. Taylor will fucking hook it up for me. I used to have thank you cards in here. Anyhow, no, I'm representing. What are we representing today? It's called Heroes Hunt for Veterans. Right, we'll do our shameless plug of the episode. Heroes Hunt for Veterans here in Wisconsin takes veterans on a free hunting experience. I had the opportunity last year to go hunt with them. I shot my first ever archery buck last year, and they take out 3 veterans a weekend for like 15 weeks of the year, spring and fall, turkey hunt, deer hunt, fishing, you name it. Heroes, I can't remember the game name now. Fucking Heroes Hunt for Veterans, nonprofit. They're not even veterans. It's a good story how it all happened. Anyways, great guys. There's our plug of the day. I used to be in radio, so I'm always thinking top of the hour. We gotta get our shit in. All right, so there's a fucking eagle for you.
There's no light hot shot.
Nice. Oh my god, Jesus.
There you go.
There you go. How's that? There's a fucking eagle for you fucking listeners at home. Anyhow, my eagle's fucking nicer looking than Vet's Easy Trash. No big deal. Our old eagle, we refer to as the seagull, looked like shit. It looked. I'm telling you, if you see, it did. It looked like shit. I was not part of the company at the time. Decisions were made. I was not part of the matrix. Shitty eagle.
But why not But why not more broker? Why not broker job, Zach? Have you just not thought of it yet, or is it something that's passed you by?
I just and I've done it some too.
Because you're doing the same work. A little bit. Yeah, you're just calling different people.
In my mind, it's just there's more risk that they're gonna mess it up, right? It's like,
yeah, but that's the thing. You know, the cool thing about that is I can go find another sub like that.
yeah, that's true.
Versus a franchisee. Yeah.
Yep. You're making great points, and you got me a lot to think about. I'll put the one pushback I'll give you is that, and this is more of a personal thing. I really do enjoy the personal and business development piece of it, right? Like, I'm having a great time with the Savannah guy. Like,
yeah,
I spent a lot of time talking to him, helping him, like, and he's learning a lot about business too. If he does it forever, great. But, you know, maybe he'll learn like I have, and after a couple of years, sell it and, you know, hand it off to someone else.
Yeah, but what if you get someone like me, Zach, who's just questioning
business,
every effing
I was
month?
an asshole.
Like, I was a dick. People in franchise, in my headquarters, they hated me, man. They banned me a couple times, you know.
They still do. They still do hate you.
I mean,
actually. I asked.
I'm not. Hey, look, if you got a good relationship with Savannah, keep them. But going forward, what makes more sense? Because trying to find another Savannah, that's a lot harder than just giving opportunities to other junk wheel companies that are already established, and maybe they need your help as well.
Well, I mean, maybe we just do both too. You know, it's like our relationships are mostly like East Coast, and you know, we're kind of starting over in Texas. But it's like, you know, I don't think we're ever going to make it up to the north in Milwaukee, or like, and I have some friends in Michigan who are interested, right? But yeah,
but you got hold on, do you have contracts? Do you have contracts in Milwaukee, or does the property management company?
We could, but you know, we've never even brought it up before, right? Like, I know our management company has at least some units there. I don't know which ones. It's something I'm going to look into after this.
Yeah, correct. That's a two-tiered approach there, because then you're basically in three different. You would then essentially could be in three different businesses. You could be in the I do junk removal, right? Charlotte location, Orlando, right? You have the hey, I like to mentor. Is your guy he's a vet? I'm assuming this is vet only. Good, right? Hey, I want to mentor vets that want to get into the business. They want to get into the space. But they need more than just contracts, right? And I also enjoy that, right? And then also I broker trash because I have this kick-ass commercial account. Like, that's a hell of a business model. The other thing that I will push back to you on the mentorship, it's awesome until it's not repeatable, because you have one guy right now. Awesome. 10, 12, 15, 20 guys, you might not have that relationship. Now, you can put vehicles in place. I can tell you, when we were part of the franchisee, the franchisor, all he gave a shit about was selling you more franchises. And as soon as you signed the dotted line, he was fucking gone. The only other time you heard from him, when he wanted to fucking brag about himself or sue you. That was the only other time you
on a TV show.
Or wanted you on a TV show to fucking promote his great fucking system, right? Now, again, that's because he's a jackass, right? And so I'm not concerned about you falling prey to that. But the challenge is, it is you got to remember what's scalable and repeatable. Now you got to build a team around you, and maybe you are the catalyst, right?
Changes, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of levels of complexity beyond that.
Right. Yeah. No, scalability, I definitely see the issues with it, but you know, I do like challenges, and I'm big on systems and stuff, you know, so at least for now, the challenge of developing a system where we can still mentor franchisees as we scale, that's very interesting to me, you know, but very valid points though, for sure.
Because I'll tell you this, it would make more sense just to go commercial only, set up a business in that aspect because you have that success where you're at, and just work that angle rather than saying, hey, we're a junk wheel company, but we have commercial contracts. Because I told you earlier, like, I did most of my success through residential. You know, and it's what this podcast is about, man. Like, that's what we're sharing. But Andy and I, we didn't just one day sign up a dotted line and guess what, we were successful. We had to learn what worked for us in our company, in our area. And then we got to expand. Then we got to kind of, you know, entertain different avenues. I'm right at 65, 70% commercial. And it's taken me a lot of years to get there. I love doing fucking commercial work. But then when you lean too much on the commercial, you don't have those small jobs, right? You know, and then the problem, like Casey said, is one commercial job goes away, or one contract goes away, or the job is done, or whatever, you might be out a fucking whole truck and a whole crew, right? That's not a, you know, there's significant ripple effects when you're that heavy on commercial. Now, when you have multi-year contracts, you're good to go. And that's where a lot of people want to be. They want to be, you know, more predictable. Junk removal is a very unpredictable industry. So to have that level of predictability is huge. We stopped doing Amazon jobs simply because the procurement director got promoted.
Yep.
So someone came in and hired someone else, and it wasn't anything negative. They were just like, oh yeah, he's like, I'm not in charge of that anymore. And it's like, shit.
starting all over. Yeah. Or they want, with commercial, it's like you get big enough where they're like, well, we want someone that can handle this. And you're like, well, we don't do that. And they're like, oh, well, we'll find a company that does it all. Right. And all of a sudden they're looking to do move, demo, non-hazardous, hazardous. Right. And then it's like, well, hold on. We don't do the whole suite of services. Right. And that's the ebbs and flows of business. But I will, again, I don't give a shit which direction you go. You have some very valid points. You have a lot more going for you than the franchise that we were part of. I'm interested to see, hey, if you have contracts, right? I will selfishly say, hey, I want to go bang more jobs. Right? I'm still running it. I'm still running a residential residential and commercial junk removal company every day. So I'm inherently interested in saying, okay, what do you have and how are we going to bang these out? Right? Because sales speaks to everybody.
Yep. A good deal doesn't mean someone's saving money. A good deal means everybody's making money.
Right. Yeah, everybody wins.
It's a win-win-win. Customer gets their shit taken care of. You procure it to make sure you have the right people, and the local owner operators are getting work in jobs without having to re-earn every single one individually. That's it. Yeah. Everybody wins.
And set your own processes for yourself. Capitalism. I mean, hey, if you want to be on this with me, then you have to meet this criteria that I have. If that's what you're worried about, right? If you want someone to be to a certain standard, make that part of your contract, right? Like, hey, how long have you been in business? Yeah. Cool. Do you have references? Do you have insurance? That's a big one, right? And that way you can at least start to filter out the legitimate.
Correct. Set your part. Exactly. Like you said, one of the whether it's commercial work or government work, well, the biggest deterrent is getting through the paperwork. And it's not just doing the paperwork. It's also having the right, sometimes like I've had to provide fucking pro formas before to companies, or at least tax returns, because they want to know that I was good for it, especially if I'm carrying a balance, for example. Right. So those things matter, and it takes time. Or you need the right insurance, not just the right insurance. You need to know how to get it and afford it and all that stuff. So you need to put a simple vetting system within your own business so that you feel confident when you tell your company, yep, I got a guy, I trust him, he's got the things needed, that person does have that shit. And then you fucking swing through the pitch from there.
Yeah. Awesome points. Yeah.
For the record, I looked Atlanta. So by city in the country, a couple of areas you talked about. Atlanta, we have the 5th most listeners in the Atlanta market and the 9th most in the Charlotte market. So the South is good. Dallas Fort Worth still remains our top market for the podcast. Looking at our numbers, because numbers matter, KPI. So anyways, there you go. States wise, California, Texas, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania. In that order, obviously, quite a bit of population, but throwing that out there, Georgia and North Carolina also in the top 10. So my point is, there's probably Casey's fucking posting shit to social. Good job, Casey, marketing department. The argument is there's someone that's going to hear this right now that's in the Atlanta market that could be potentially interested in being right the person to bang jobs while you broker them. It's there. Right.
Yeah.
So again,
anybody that's out there listening, feel free to just reach out to me. And I'm happy. Heck, maybe next week we'll start brokering, right? Like if you reach out and it makes sense, and then I talk to our partners and they're like, oh yeah, we have communities that need work. Like I'm willing to give it a shot. As long as you're a veteran, and you're established, I'm definitely willing to entertain it. So
veteran, established, not a piece of shit. Got it. We're not asking for much, right? I mean, that knocks down a lot of people, right? Veterans, 1% of the population, not a piece of shit. If you identify as a piece of shit, you need not apply. Away you go. All right. Well, no, that's been good. It's been a good run. Again, this wasn't a knockdown drag out. It's what are other things to consider, and this is what adults do in the business space, right? We sit down, we have civil discourse, and we figure out how do we come up with a potential solution. Like you said, you'll give her hell. You might come back in 6 months and be like, yeah, that was a terrible fucking plan. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now we all learn, right? Like we don't know. The proof's in the pudding. So let's go around the horn real quick, starting with Casey, then Zach. top takeaways from today's show.
My top takeaway is we're not telling you to shut down and start over. What we're saying is things to look out for, and I would highly suggest keep your Savannah guys, keep your Orlando guys, but I would start looking at things differently in other perspectives. Start using what you have most of, and that's junk removal companies around you, and say, hey, you know what? How can I help them as well as help myself? Because at the end of the day, we're all in this awesome world together, trying to do the right thing in this path that we call junk removal. So success is it's hindsight, right? So I think what you have going is good. I think you came on here with some balls because, you know, Andy and I don't like the franchise model. And you know what? Like Andy said, you may prove us wrong. Shit, in 2 years, you might be like, hey, look, guys, fuck you. Look what I did. And we're going to be like, shit, okay. But take what we're saying and at least apply it in some aspect before you just dismiss it, because we are just trying to help any way we can, right? And go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys. What takeaway you got there, Zach?
Yeah, not necessarily to the show per se, but you know, reach out to people. You know, I just started listening to y'all maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, shit, I'm just gonna reach out to both Casey and Andy on LinkedIn and just I like what they're saying. I'm learning a lot. You know, have a discussion with them, and I just appreciate that you guys, you know, responded and engaged. And I'm the same way. I have a lot of people that reach out, just ask me general business stuff, but like,
yeah,
in you know, especially in the veteran community, don't be afraid to reach out to anybody, because more than likely they're going to want to help you, you know, and they will. And like, I learned a lot today. You're going to hear more from me. Like Andy and I had already talked about like my back house operations. Like I'm interested in having a look at that and stuff, you know, and I'm thankful that you guys are responsive. You care about the community. You're willing to engage. And I'm glad to be a part of it too, right? Like I love doing business like this and just building relationships and, you know, meeting friends and cool dudes like y'all. So,
no, I appreciate that. You know, that's why we do what we do here. It's all about the entrepreneurship community, and we don't talk a lot about being vets on this, but that's where it stems from. We've seen a lot of people take advantage of vets when they get out of service. You know that when you're coming out of active duty, you're going through the TAPS program, the Transition Assistance Program, especially if you're a West Point guy or an officer. You know, there's big companies throwing big dollars at you. There's colleges that are telling you should go here and get your master's. There's a lot of opportunities out there. And there's also franchisees that are like, hey, you got 50 grand? Let me spend it for you and tell you the life you can live. And we don't want that, right? And so instead of being against something, we are for something. We are for the empowerment of veterans. We are for the environmental responsibility that we have as junk removal stewards to our community, right? So these are the things that we are for, and this podcast is a catalyst behind that. The answers are here. It's your choice to listen and your choice to reach out. Like you said, Zach, you've been in the hustle. You found opportunity in a place in 2020 when others might see a challenge, right? Landfill's not taking shit. Well, what can I do about that? And we know as military members, we see opportunities where others see challenges. So you came from the ashes of COVID and built a business sustainable and successful. So my hat's off to you. I want to see your continued success. I want to see where it goes, because I'm open to hear different things. What I might not know it already, right? I learn every time we do these podcasts as much as I teach. I love doing it. To your point, if you reach out to me, I will respond, right? If you want to be on the podcast, you got to bring a unique angle or proposition. We've been very fortunate here in almost 40 episodes that we have more guests than we have slots. And now if people want to be on the podcast, we'd love to have you, but you got to bring a perspective and unique angle. So that's my challenge to you. Also, we just started and just launched our Facebook group. And Zach, I want you to be part of that. You know, we want some of these top guys to be moderators within the group, because we want this group to be a place where junk removal owner operators, not always veterans, but we would definitely want to lean in on the veteran community, come to share ideas and knowledge where we don't have to repeat ourselves. We can refer back to episodes where we can say, hey, listen to this, watch this, right? And be there as a catalyst for each other. So for all of our listeners out there, we are going to move away from LinkedIn and Facebook and really lean into our Facebook group. And this is not a group that you say, hey, how do I price this? How do I price that? There's already a fucking group for that. There's probably 10. This is more about how do you strategically and tactically grow your junk removal business? How do you find mentors right, that you can lean on, because at the end of the day, we are all in this together. I'm part of another group, and their tagline is, "It's your business, don't grow it alone." That's the same thing here. For the veterans and junk removal owners out there listening, we're in this together. Let's figure it out together. Let's be there for each other so that we can grow this industry and get more recognition and professionalism within this industry. But it's a long soapbox. That's what I took away. That's what we're doing. This has been episode 38 of the Trash Talk Business Podcast. We will see you next week.